Wow, this BMW Z4 look fantastic in these sketches. It's so refined, so sharp, and such a step up from the current generation Z4. I think this is going to be the best looking Z4 ever made, and I can't wait for the production model.
Oh, hell no!
Henrietta, what do you think about the Z4? Do you like it? No? You will redesign it? Alrighty then. Francine, your opinion please. Do you like the Z4? Give me a sign. Anything? I'll take that as a no, that it needs to be redesigned. Yes? Okay. Georgette, what do you think about the BMW Z4? Do you like it? Do you want to redesign? I'm gonna take that as a yes. Well, I mean, if the Kittens say that we need to redesign Z4, then I guess we have to. So, first things first, as some of you may know, we foster kittens here, and we're always looking for people to adopt them into good homes. And since I'm on YouTube here, and my videos tend to get a few views, I thought I might just put it out there that we do have kittens up for adoption in about a week or two, and those are Georgette, Henrietta, and Francine. So if you're in Florida and you want to enrich your life with a cat, which, I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't want a cat in their life?
You suck!
Or you know someone who wants a cat, looking for a cat. I just want to throw that out there because I'm here on YouTube and I might as well. Just let me know and we might be able to help you out. Just like Rosie here. She used to be a crazy street cat. She was found in inside of a gas station. Right, Rosie? You had a rough life, but now you have the best life. If interested, you're welcome to follow our new page on Facebook and on Instagram at Baby Cat Habitat for updates on our current fosters or just to see pictures of crazy cute kittens. Alright, now let's get into the redesign of the Z4. So before we get started with the redesign of the newest BMW Z4, let's have a look. Let's go back in time to 2003 when the first Z4 was introduced. And this is obviously it, and this was designed when Chris Bangle was head of BMW design, and he introduced something called flame surfacing. And what that means is, I'm sure you're familiar with the term Bangle butt, and that was the 7 series that was introduced. That was very controversial. I think it was introduced in 2001. The design looked very weird. It was a very architectural approach to design, but it turned out to be the best-selling 7 series ever made, ever produced up until that point. So I think Chris Bangle, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to design for sure. And they took that flame surfacing, as they called it, and implemented that into the Z4. And as you can see, the step from the previous Z3 to the Z4 is massive. This is just a more refined car overall. The Z3, first of all, it was intended for the US market. It was built here, and it didn't really have the BMW quality that the rest of the lineup had. And this was changed with this 2003 Z4. And I actually really love this design. It's kind of timeless to me because it's hard to forget such a huge step forward or in a new direction that it was from the Z3 to the Z4. And there are 2 key lines, or actually 3 key lines that I just love with the Z4, with the 2003 model. And the first line is this shoulder line right here that goes all the way to the door handle back there. And this is just a beautiful line that your eyes want to follow all the way back to the door handle, and then it makes a dip right here, and then it comes back and pops up in the rear fender as well. So we have it going like that over here. And those are the first 2 lines that I really think is special for the Z4 and that I personally really love. The third line is the weird line that goes here, that was also a new type of styling when it comes to car design, that it goes up from this point right here. It turns up instead of just continuing going straight, as every other car had at that time, and still today actually. You have most cars just have this line going like this, like that, and then you have something like that, an indent that goes in like that. But they decided to do something new and implement this flame surfacing and make this go up that way, and this created something new and something interesting. And you can see that this line here, it follows up to the headlight here. It's the same line that goes across the car, and this, I'm guessing, if I'm not mistaken, this goes into the bumper in the back. So you have a line that you can follow with your eye all across the car, and that to me is very important, and it ties everything together when you have one key line that wraps around the car like that. And then you can see this line right here is also something unusual and something that this Z4 will be remembered for. It's just a cool way of implementing the flame surfacing, and the idea with flame surfacing by itself is that if you take a flame and you look at how a flame is built up when it comes to shading and highlights, it's very dynamic and it's very organic almost. So if you take a flame and let's say you flatten it graphically, and then you put that shape, that graphic and the indents, and you take that as inspiration for example, the side view of a car. And that's exactly what they did with this Z4 when it first came out. And another tiny detail that I love about this car is that the indicator is integrated behind the BMW logo there in the fender. It's just a tiny detail, but still a very cool detail. So let's move on to the next generation Z4. Came out in 2009, I believe, and this was designed by Julian Blasi. And when I first saw the sketches of this car, I thought it was such a good looking Z4. And this time I really couldn't wait for the production model to come out. And this, to me, is a good example of turning the concept sketches into a good looking and exciting production car off those sketches. Because the design sketches, when they are released, they are very exaggerated, and you have the low stance, you have the low profile, the big wheels, and everything is just exaggerated to emphasize the key design elements and proportions of whatever car they are sketching. So that was the case with this car as well. But at the same time, I think they made it, and it's very unusual, but they made a good job turning those sketches and, you know, keeping the dynamics of those sketches into the production version of the Z4. Same thing here, they kept the two key lines that I just love. This one right here, same as the previous generation, and you have this dip right here. They did not keep this little upgoing line here. They instead went with something more traditional, kind of like a development of the flame surfacing. They did the same thing with the 7 Series. They went back into something more conservative for the next model after Chris Bangle. Even though the cars were selling really well, I think they wanted to kind of take that back a notch and create something that's more that people are more used to seeing. But still, this is a great looking car. My personal favorite though is still the first generation Z4, and obviously to me the coolest car is the M Coupe of the first generation Z4. It's such an unusual car, and I just love it when car companies come out with something so unexpected. To me, this generation Z4 is a more of an emotional progression of this car right here. This is more of an architectural approach to the flame surfacing, and they took it with this Z4, they took it one step further and added some more emotion to the design. I mean, you can see this, the lines are more soft and not so chiseled as the first generation Z4. So now if we take a look at the 2020 Z4, to me there are some things that are missing with this design. And I understand that BMW is going in a new direction when it comes to design, but this just lacks any emotion to the design. It feels more like a device than a car, if that makes sense. It feels more like a let's say a laptop than a car, because a car is supposed to be emotional, and the thing that they really, in my opinion, missed is that they removed these very emotional lines that is typical for Z4 that we're used to seeing on the Z4 that we have on the previous generations. This line right here, line number 1, line number 2, we have those in the first generation as well. Line number 1 and 2, and here they just lag. They're not there. It's just a flat surface, and it just feels like a colder design than the previous generation, if that makes sense. And then also, I don't know what's going on in the hood here with these kind of, I don't know what to call them, arrows or something that are in the hood. They just feel so out of place. So that's something that I want to change in this redesign. And another thing about the headlights is that I think they stick up too far on the fender here and the hood. They stretch too far up this way. So I want to bring them down this way and make the graphics of the front, I want to have them be more of a horizontal line, so they create a graphical horizontal line in the front and not this line that we have right now, which goes up there and then horizontal right here, and then it goes way up to this point here. I want to bring it down and have it be about this height, or as low as we can go without ruining the design language that I know BMW is looking for with this design. Other than that, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this design, but to me it just lacks a lot of emotion, and it's not something that, it's not a car that I think it's not a beautiful car, because it's more of a device to me than a car. And there is also a lot going on down here, but you know, the styling of bumpers these days just keep getting pushed and pushed until I don't know how many edges and corners we will find on the, for example, 2025 models, or if we're going to go back to something more simple. But I guess that's how BMW does things these days, and I respect that. But I think we can work just a little bit on this part right here, for example. I do like that they kept the grille very low in height and didn't add those whale mouth grills that we see on the 7 Series and the X5 and 7. They kept it more sporty, which totally makes sense for a sports car like this. And I also don't really like this part right here. The intake can be there, but I want to keep it clean like this and have just an intake like that and remove this graphic that we see right there. Last but not least, I want to make this into an not an M, but an M40 Coupe.
Surprise, motherfucker!
So that means that we're going to add a roof to this car, and we are going to design it both from the front view and the rear view in this video. So it's not going to be one video with one view. We're going to make a complete remake of the Z4, both from the rear and the front. So first of all, let's have a look at the rear view and work on that and add a roof to it, and let's see how that goes before we jump into the front view of the new Z4. Since it's going to be a coupe, we obviously need to add a roof on this car, and the design of the roof itself, we're gonna have to figure that one out as we go along, but something like this, just add a roof to it and cover everything up, and that means that we have to work on the integration with the body panel here with the C. Since we're going to create a new C-pillar, it needs to be smoothly integrated in everything that goes on in the rear here. That's one thing that we need to think about. Another key line that I noticed when I looked at this car from the rear is that I want this line right here. Let's see if we can rotate it to make it easier for us. This line that goes right here, I want that to continue into this line. So I want to have a little bit of a curve right here and not have it be straight like it is right now and going right across to this into nothing here. Basically, I want this to have a curvature and go down and create this line right here, and then probably this will continue into the front somehow. Another thing obviously is to add this front fender line, or whatever you want to call this, the shoulder line, and have some definition in this area right here, because right now it's just a simple curve like this, but I want to add something that goes like this, bring back the old emotional lines of the previous Z4s and kind of implement that in this new design. So let's see how this one goes. right, so moving on to the front view of the Z4. First of all, these things, they need to go. I'm not sure what they are or what exactly they got the inspiration from for these kind of arrows that we have in the hood there. I want to have something more elegant and more easy on the eye, simple as that, and create something like that. And as we talked about previously in the beginning of this video, I want to bring this headlight down somewhat, maybe to this point right here, and remove this excess piece that sticks too far up on the hood for my taste, and of course implement this line right here that we created on the rear view as well, have that be emphasized even more in this view right here. Maybe work a little bit on this part down here because it looks kind of messy and we can clean it up somehow. What else do we need to do? Obviously add a roof to this view as well, and that's going to look something like that. And that means that when we add a roof in here, he can't be all happy in the sunshine right there. We need to add some shading inside of this car as well if we are going to block the sun coming down from up there, right? So that's kind of logical. And then remove this piece, graphical piece that we have there. Another thing with the Z4 that I want to change every time I see it is to remove this wheel gap here. We have a massive wheel gap in both front and rear. Shorten the wheel or close the wheel gap, and at the same time just move the wheels out just a little bit so at least they're flush with the body of the car and not sit further in like they do right now. So right now they sit something like this, but I want them to be flush, and that creates a better stance, especially when you see it from the rear. So let's do that right now and let's see how this one goes. No, you can't walk on that. I'm sorry, friend. Henrietta, hey, come on. So there we have it. That's the redesign of the BMW Z4. I wanted to bring back the emotion that we saw in the previous versions of the Z4, and we do that by adding that beautiful line that goes over the side of the hood and over the front fender. I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed making it, and if you liked it, hit the like button. That really helps out the video, it helps out YouTube algorithm and all that stuff, and it really means a lot to me. I'm the Sketch Monkey. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I'll see you next time.